Hi, my name is Cassandra Fletcher,
And I am Tony Marks.
and this is our Unit 2 Group XP assignment. For this assignment, we had to do a case study. We chose case study 8.1, which is about a director of women's health at a regional healthcare system. Um, Before Jennifer got there, the department was running smoothly and efficiently and was one of the premier departments within the organization. However, over the past 3 months, some of the nurses began requesting transfers to other department, and some reassigned to seek employment resigned to seek employment outside of the organization. Um, the CNO is concerned and would like Jennifer to make this her first priority. The department consists of 175 full-time and part-time employees, which includes 88 BSNs, 61 ADNs, and 24 patient care techs and 2 unit secretaries. In the past, these staff have worked well together. Due to many due to many seasoned nurses leaving and new nurses coming on board, the staff reports being overwhelmed with orienting new nurses and dealing with nursing students. In addition, the staff feel like the patients are not getting the proper care. Um, Jennifer reports to her CNO that she needs to address productivity, accountability, and productive turnover versus non-productive turnover. Jennifer considers the best use of her staffing mix to maximize efficiency and productivity. And the hospital is also magnet and uses a shared governance model.
Okay. So the first question says Jennifer's department uses a decentralized budgeting process. Using the 8 steps identified in the procedures for decentralized budgeting, identify how Jennifer would use her understanding of her staffing mix, patient care needs, and shared governance model to best address department problems. So when I looked at this question, I kind of combined everything together, looking over the 8 steps of the budgeting process. But one thing that I kind of was thinking was that if they actually change their approach to more of a team-based nursing approach, then they could keep the productivity up while they're having the staffing transitions. And that could also help alleviate the burnout from training new nurses if they're all working together.
That makes sense. I kind of did mine the same way, went through each one of the steps, but I kind of did like a breakdown trying to figure out maybe where the problem stems, past the training new nurses and dealing with nursing students.
Mm-hmm.
When I broke it down, the tech to patient ratio was 7 patients to 1 tech, which isn't too bad for like a women's health unit. I figured nobody would be like high acuity.
Yeah.
So I guess just like you said, if they did more of a teamwork, like I know for my unit, the nurses feel like they can't do tech work. Mm-hmm. So if the tech's not there, they'll just kind of sit around and wait for the tech to come back instead of just going to go do it yourself, or just asking somebody else to chip in. So that could probably alleviate a lot of the burnout too.
Yeah. Looking over the third step of the process, the budget patient care hours, the expected number of hours devoted to patient care for the forecasted patient day is calculated. I guess if they expected patient care hours can help determine the necessary recruitment to decrease the overload. So if they kind of had an idea of the number of patient care hours that they would have, then they would know the number of nurses or aides that they would need to hire to ensure that the staffing mix is appropriate.
Do you think that's step 3? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Do you think that's step 3 or step 4? Because step 3, I think, is just the budget patient care hours. And then step 4 is the budget patient care hours and the staffing schedule.
Yeah, I think with both of those, well, you know, like the text said, because I'm referring to my text, it did say that, you know, nursing is a very labor-oriented field, and honestly, the first 6 steps are really all about labor. So I think those kind of intertwine together, because again, the anticipated number of patient care hours can be used to get the staffing schedule together, but we need to know what we're expecting to make sure that we're recruiting the right number of people, and then once we have those people, of course, scheduling them appropriately.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think steps 7 and 8. I mean, they of course they apply, but
Yeah,
I don't think like they're a major issue because it's not. I don't think like it didn't mention anything about cost,
correct.
so I don't think 7 and 8 really apply. I just think that they need to kind of, since they're having so many people transition, of course, figure out why. But at the end of the day, you have to work with what you have.
Yeah,
So they kind of need to start over from step 1 and kind of go from there
yeah.
with focus on more so retention
Mm-hmm.
than necessarily recruitment. I mean, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But you know, I'm thinking that since they're kind of in that position where they're right now losing the staff that they have, especially the seasoned staff, they should think about options in the meantime, and using like a strategic staffing plan that could include adding in temporary staffing.
Yep.
Yeah, and even if you start looking at temporary staffing, that in turn could actually turn into more of a permanent position as well. So
Yep.
if you have the need for temporary staff, that could turn into a permanent position, and then you have that hole filled. Um, so, but that's one thing that you have to budget for, is of course that temporary staffing.
Yeah. Well, I feel like if I don't know how to word it, like it's not mandatory that you take student nurses. If you don't have, if you can't, I guess, support it right now, then maybe that's something that she should bring up to the CNO. Like, hey, my staff are swamped right now. I don't think that we're exactly the best role models, for the students right now. And it works out in both favors. Sometimes when we get students on the unit, it's great because they kind of act as techs as well.
Mm-hmm.
But, if they can't support it, if it's making them stressed, then maybe they should hold off on that for a while and just, talk to the school about them going somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree. All right. Any other ideas on that first question?
I'm trying to find the question to make sure. Let's address department problems. I guess as far as like the shared governance model, actually find out. I mean, nothing in the case study says why they're leaving outside of, reports of being overwhelmed with oriented new nurses. But that's not like exactly saying why they left. So I guess they should find out why they left or why they want to leave and figure out, talk to them and find out what they can do to make them stay.
Yeah. I think the case study, it kind of was very, very, I don't know, not very informative, if you will, because I mean, it said that this was a model clinic or a model unit. They had great staffing, great whatever, and then all of a sudden everyone's leaving. But why are they leaving? Was it because Jennifer came on, because it was new management, or was it something else? Was it,
It's like a huge gap in between when she came on and what was going on beforehand. Because just like you said, people don't just, I'm leaving.
Exactly.
Like either they don't feel like they're growing, or maybe they were offered better pay. The workload is too much. It's something behind it, or maybe they just don't like her.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's definitely a huge gap in there, and information that's missing.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. So the second question here says, using the staffing mix, how might Jennifer maximize her professional nursing capacity, considering the need to increase her BSN RN pool?
that like, I'm sorry, it's like like pool nurses,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like PRN.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think just the group of BSNs.
Well, with magnet status, isn't there a certain amount, like a certain percentage that has to be BSNs? Because there's 175 people, and
Mm-hmm.
61 of those are ADNs.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like a high percentage to me.
I'm going back over my notes here, and I know I meant had really great ideas. Um,
I mean, that's almost like 40%. That's almost like half of her nurses, well, half of her staff, rather,
mm-hmm.
have an ADN. But with magnets, shouldn't, I thought it was like 20% or so.
I honestly am not well versed with Magnet and what they require for the hospitals that they certify.
I think we learn that this week coming.
Oh, but yeah, I honestly, I don't know. I mean, what?
I mean, she has, what's that? 9, hold on. She has 149 nurses
Mm-hmm.
and 24 care techs and 2 secretaries. So I don't think that there is, and I'm assuming that's after everyone has left.
Yeah, I would think so.
It doesn't say how big her unit is. Like, there's a ton of information missing to even know if her staffing is appropriate. Like, how do we know that that's enough staff?
Yeah, how many beds do they have on the unit? I don't know.
It doesn't necessarily say to be able to say how. And I don't know what them being BSNs would really add, I guess.
I don't either. Because I'm sure there are many well-seasoned ADNs, and she does have ADNs as part of her staffing mix.
Yeah. I mean, now she could use pool nurses, of course, if they're feeling overwhelmed to make the patient to nurse ratio lower, but I don't know what it is before. Like, that's the only thing that would solve. And again, that's more so temporary.
I don't know why, but the only thing that I think of in reading this question, I'm trying to, again, like you said, trying to figure out what is it that makes her need for a BSN versus an ADN. Like, what is it? But I know in some organizations, the ADN nurses unfortunately don't have the opportunity to advance as the BSN nurses do, and maybe as a nurse manager here, she's trying to maximize the number of RNs that can potentially grow further and do more. I don't know.
Well, it also doesn't say who's leaving. Is it the ADNs who are leaving?
Yes,
Because if they're
exactly.
going back to school and they're getting their BSNs and then they're leaving, then obviously they have the experience and now they have the schooling behind it to probably make more money than what they are willing to offer them there. So of course they're going to leave. But it doesn't really say much about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it says they feel like the patients may not be getting the proper care, but that's a ton of nurses.
Yeah.
And it's women's health. I'm not really sure how. I've never worked in women's health, but when I go to women's health for like a doctor's appointment, it's kind of like a, not necessarily 1-to-1, but it's kind of like a vitals and lab, like that type of thing. So I'm not really
Mm.
I mean, I don't want to say that they don't have a lot of work. It's not, I don't want you to think that I'm saying that, but I just don't know enough about what they do. It doesn't seem like the patient acuity level is high enough to where they would need that many nurses.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, I guess ultimately, if she needs to increase her BSN pool, um, since she does have nurses leaving, she needs to recruit new nurses. Then, I mean, she would have to spend the money in recruiting the BSN. I don't know.
I don't understand what difference the BSN
I don't either. I don't either.
would.
Well, I do know, like I said, some hospitals now are saying, they are encouraging ADNs to go back to school to get their BSN. I
Yeah,
don't think they're outright not hiring ADNs. But I guess for, like you were saying, for magnet status, we do want to encourage more of the BSN nurses. So,
I know at my job, well, I shouldn't say my job, but where I'm at the moment, um, their nurse manager has an ADN.
mm,
The nurse manager over her, they have like this weird tier system. It's
mhm,
kind of like their charge nurse is considered a manager. So
mhm,
there's her, and then the overall unit manager has a BSN, and then the department head has a master's.
mhm,
But she's the person who I would consider a charge nurse. She's been there. She graduated school. She did 2 years of med surg at that hospital. The hospital is a university based hospital, so
mhm,
she went to school there. I think she said she did 2 or 3 years med surg, and then she went down to pre-op, and
mhm,
that's where she has been her entire career. And she's like 50.
mhm.
So she has like she's made outside of work advancement. She's made no educational
Yeah,
advancement whatsoever, but she's holding this position where normally it will be given to, at least a BSN.
yeah, yeah.
So I don't really, when they say the BSN pool, if the place is magnet, then I can see where that would be a
Yeah.
factor like this one. But in the real world, it's not making a huge difference. Because
Mhm.
almost everybody she's in charge of too has an ADN.
Mhm.
I don't think I'm fully understanding this question, to be quite honest.
Well,
In summary, she could always use the BSNs to supplement, the ones who are leaving.
yeah,
But then she's gonna have to adjust the whole, like the money part of the budget, like
yeah.
steps 7 and 8, and not just 1 through 6,
Mhm.
because it's going to cost way more money. Two, 9 times out of 10, those same people are going to get overtime, and
Mhm.
then her regular staff are going to be getting overtime as well.
Well, I don't know if I have any more to add to this.
I don't think I do either.
Hmm. So ultimately, staffing affects the budget.
Yeah,
We have to make sure we are appropriately staffed so we are not overspending.
just work within the steps. She needs to figure out why they're leaving, how she can get them to stay, and pretty much she needs to talk to her staff. I don't see anywhere in here where she went to her staff and talked to them. The new nurses coming on board, the staff reports being overwhelmed with orienting. Oh, I guess. but it doesn't say like, that's just a cookie crumb.
Yeah.
I guess it's not real information. She just to talk to her staff, and if she wants to use, I guess, pool nurses to help supplement, that's fine as well. She just has to work it into the overall budget.
All right. Well, there we have it.
I'm hitting stop.
All right.